That's a great setup. I like it a lot.
You like this?
I like the setup. It's very comfy and cozy.
I'm trying to also demonstrate that we don't need all the gear.
No.
You just need an idea.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can do these things, and it can be a little bit lo-fi, and I actually think a lot of listeners respond. Well, we can talk about this because, to get us started.
Yes.
Explain to us your professional expression. How do you describe what you do and why you do it and who it's for? So as this internet anthropologist, I'm obsessed. What is it?
What does that entail? I've really struggled with trying to find how to describe myself for a very long time until probably this year, where it all kind of came together. Because I was asking a lot of my friends, you know, when you see what I do or what I do for work, or like if someone asks you, what do you say? And they say, well, Kriti, you are the internet. And I was like, wow, that's a bold claim. But I spent some time, you know, sitting with it off the internet, ironically enough. And I like to find a way to make sense of the parts of the offline world that have the parts of the online world that have seeped into our offline world, that there used to be a boundary there, right? And that no longer exists. Whenever someone says, oh, there's this internet discourse or there's this conversation happening online, the same conversations that are happening online are happening offline. There's no separation of church and state in that way. But I think majority of people don't necessarily understand that in that way, because it's not part of their jobs and it's not part of their day-to-day. But because of the work that I've done and the way that I play in the space, I like to make it easier for someone who doesn't really understand that and then also sees that this stuff is happening, but how do I make sense of it? And which sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo when I keep saying it out loud, but it's really the essence of the way we communicated previously was probably more face-to-face and textual and medium. But the way that we communicate now relies heavily upon the different types of imagery or videos or telegrams or podcasts and stuff, and we use that as a method of connection more than anything else.
So we, whether we believe ourselves to be or not, are all producers.
Yeah.
And editors.
Yeah.
And creators.
Yeah. And that's why when someone's like, oh, I'm not a creative, or I don't really, you know, I'm not on social media, in the sense of they don't see themselves posting, you know, maybe 10 stories or like 100 reels or all of that type of stuff. But I find it very hard pressed to find someone who isn't on social media in the essence that social media exists today. They might not have been a few years ago when it was more of a social platform, but now everything is a media platform. Every brand is a publisher. Every person is a creative in that sense. And because of that, I think the idea that, oh, I'm not on social media doesn't really exist in the same way anymore.
Yeah, because you are.
You are.
We all are.
It's very, very hard to find someone.
And even if you don't have an account, you still are, because then your friend might be putting you on social media.
Your friend might have put you on social media. I know myself, my partner, he doesn't use TikTok, for example. I download the TikTok and I send it to him in WhatsApp as a message.
This sounds like my husband and I.
Yeah, because
he never opened a Facebook account.
Yeah.
This man never opened a Facebook. I'm like, what do you mean? He's 53.
Yeah.
It starts to make sense.
Yeah.
He opened an Instagram, had a little sort of dance with it for a few years, more propelled by me being on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then he's got the account, but he's deleted the app like over a year ago. You know what's interesting is in our relationships, I don't know about you, but so much of my early relationship with Tony and my marriage in many ways, we established that sort of kindred spirit nature through being creatives. He's a creative director. At the time, I was editor, journalist, writer. Him not receiving me in my work actually is a massive gaping hole in our relationship, because that's part of the fabric of our relating. Yeah. So what's that like for you? Because I know like he's subscribed to my email list. So if I drop a podcast, he'll be like, cool email. I'm like, did you listen? Because like who I am is in those conversations. But yeah.
It's something that I've struggled with in past relationships quite a bit. I would start seeing someone and they were like, oh, I love how much, you share with the world. And then 6 months later, I hate how much you share with the world.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the plights and perils of being a writer and a creative. I think we've gotten into a rhythm where I'll kind of remind him, not like in a negative way. I'll be like, oh, did you see that? I wrote about it last week. And he'll be like, yeah, I scrolled through it a little bit, but I didn't understand this bit. And then I said I'd read it later. And I'm like, well, did you read it? Did you read it? No, I think what's really interesting is actually more so my parents, the different things that they consume of my work.
Wow, my dad watching my reels is a whole experience. It's like in my body.
Yes. Whenever my father likes because he doesn't have Instagram, but he has Facebook, whereas my mom doesn't use Facebook, but she uses Instagram. And my mom won't listen to a podcast, but she'll read an article, whereas my dad will listen to a podcast, but he won't go through like an Instagram carousel article. So and this is what I mean by when people say, oh, well, if I posted it once, that means all of my audience has seen it.
Oh, no.
In like that one method. I could have the same content in a reel, a carousel, a podcast, an online piece, in-person panel, but my mother and my father, two of the closest people to me in my life, will have consumed it and taken away very, very different things from that one thing.
It's giving master content marketing strategy. For anyone listening, if you're wondering what that is.
To communicate with my parents.
Yeah, it's a weird, it is, as much as it is content and media we're creating in the direction of an audience who's interested in a theme, topic, maybe it's career building as well. It's also our love letters to the people that we love in the hope that they will know us better.
Yes.
I do remember, I've spoken about this a lot on the pod, season 1 and 2, I was all in. Anything that was happening in my life was content.
Yeah.
And there was a lot happening in my life, pretty dark stuff. And I did not stop to consider which stories were mine to tell or not. They were happening to me. It's mine. This is my experience happening to my body. I'm going to talk about it. And it wasn't until around season 3, and it had gotten quite good traction early on, where Tony came home and said, I'm sorry, but can you stop talking about me on the podcast? And I was just breathless. What do you mean? He's going to work after we've experienced a miscarriage, and he's got people coming up to him in the office saying, I'm really sorry. And he's like, about what? And so then you go, whoa, I never stopped to consider you.
Yeah.
And then to add on that, when I took a lot of the personal away, when I took him as a character in my plot line out, there was a decrease in sort of resonance and organic interest. And so no one really talks about what you're playing with as a creative as well as, and as a strategist, when you're like, this will be good, this will do well.
This will do well.
At any cost, I see a lot of the time as well. But when you start to have those boundaries and that restraint, there is a natural, I don't know if I'd call it a decline, but it's not as spicy.
Disinterest.
Yeah.
Almost.
Is that the word? Disinterest. Yeah, where it's like this is no longer as hot and spicy as it was.
I've spoken about this a few times because I've experienced quite similarly myself over the last few years. And it's something that I spoke about again recently with the release of Taylor Swift's new album, actually.
Which I loved. We can talk about that.
as human beings, we do take a level of joy and interest in other people's suffering. And that is a very, very hard pill to swallow on both ends, both as someone who likes to think of themselves as a great pillar of humanity, as we all do in ourselves, but then also, on the other hand, as the creative or the producer or the strategist, when you're looking at yourself as a brand and you're like, well, 2 years ago when I was in a very bad place, people were a lot more interested because they were like, well, what's going to happen next, you know?
Pain is relevant.
Pain is relevance. Pain is one of the things that is the easiest to connect with people, and one of the most universal pains is the pain of heartbreak, right? In relationships and that type of suffering. And then when you do go through that, you tend to pour all of your creative energy into that pain as well. That's why they do say the greatest artists of our times experience the most. Van Gogh cut off his ear.
Yeah, you use it.
You use it. And you often then see the rewards of that quite instantaneously in that sense. Contrastingly, when you're happy, or say with the life of a showgirl and you're releasing an album about how, you know, you've found the love of your life and you're happy and you're going to have kids, you're already a billionaire and now you're getting the guy that you want and kids. We can't relate to you anymore.
No, we can't have that. So we're out.
We're out. It happens, on every scale.
Yeah. I've got many questions for you. I'm trying to do a better job of asking the questions I've worked so hard to cognize. Usually we go off, which is good and bad.
Which is good and bad.
But I want to talk to you about Gen Z, Alpha, the internet of it all, the offlineness of it all.
Yeah.
So Gen Z and Alpha are reclaiming their attention. We're starting to see this happen, their time, and the extent of that is also their personal interest. Something I'm getting into in my own kind of content programming is this return to natural interests and passions, especially the ones, and hopefully only the ones, that don't monetize or commercialize. So I think in many ways their online behaviors are these acts of sort of self-definition now. Would you agree with this? How do you think about this?
I think one of the big things, that we're obviously going to see over the next month play out is the social media ban in Australia and the impact that has on Gen Alpha as they go into their late teens. We're already seeing this though with, like you mentioned earlier, kind of like the digital graveyard. A lot more and more of my friends and people that I see in the industry even, people aren't posting as much. They're consuming more than ever though. So while they are reigniting these interests and stuff and they are experiencing them offline, we're not seeing them experience them offline, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what we want, right?
That's what we want.
But we haven't been built that way. We're not wired that way.
Yeah.
That's really an act of resistance, isn't it? Yeah.
Something that's really great is when you do catch up with your friends now and they tell you something and you say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Whereas if you look at the last few years, most of the time someone would be like, hey, XYZ on TikTok, and they'll be like, yeah, I saw it. And the conversation ends. One of the greatest things that I think that you can really do for yourself is actually not film the thing that you're doing, which I know is very, very hard. I struggle with it myself.
Yeah.
But
because if I don't film it, did it happen?
Did it happen?
And does it matter? And is it valuable?
9 times out of 10, I found now when I am filming something or if I'm taking a photo of something, I already have the same photo in my camera roll actually.
Yeah.
This morning, for example.
We're in duplicates.
Yeah. Was on a plane, took a photo out of the window. How many window seat photos do I have?
Yeah.
How often do I use them? What am I using them for? Am I looking back on them? Contrastingly, I found scrapbooking pages from when I was about 10 years old today that I made of when I was 5. That's something that I do like to look at whenever I go back home. And I think that return to simplicity has been really nice. But unfortunately, we're still living life around the parameters of a screen, and the life that we're living outside of that is quite limited.
Yeah.
Whether it be
yes,
the laptop,
a life lived in the direction of getting back online.
Yes.
Is kind of what it feels like.
Yes. So even if we are doing all of these things outside of work, we're still like, oh, well, then tomorrow I wake up and I'm back online.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to find more of a symbiosis or a balance, I think, is more of what we should be striving towards.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we're not going to completely get offline. And I think when we try and swing the pendulum too far the other way, that's also not realistic either.
Yeah. I'm really interested in the decentralization of social media, moving to these more kind of nudge-based devices. So I think we can both agree the phone's going away.
The phone is going.
People have it. I'm like, listen, you didn't think you'd have a computer in your pocket or anything like that. And so I am interested. I'm excited for a world where we're not going to a device to retrieve the news, information or content, and we're certainly not being fed an algorithm that tells us what we – well, the algorithm really is a direct reflection of our entire state of being.
Yeah.
And we are triggered by that because it reveals things to us that
we might not want to accept.
Exactly. So anyway,
we often don't want to accept.
But this is to say that we're not going to be in a world eventually where we're sort of governed by what's being sort of programmed in our direction.
Ideally.
Ideally. Instead, the prediction being that the information and the content will come to us.
In these like fringe nudge spaces.
Yeah. And then we will sort of either be available to that or not. I feel like our availability or our interest in being available is going to come down to how much of the work we've done offline to develop the who am I, the what am I interested in, what are my passions, what are my just natural interests.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the pull's still there because you still think that there's some identity-making behavior going on in your consumption when actually I feel like it's a fragmentation of the self more than anything. But I'm excited for a world where hopefully we get to choose and
whether
we can
to be online all day or not.
Yeah, and when we receive, and this idea that everything becomes a surface that the information can be broadcast upon. And so it's a little bit more, good or bad, I don't know, integrated into our actual goings about our reality versus right now there is this sort of stationary nature, isn't there, where we pick up the phone, we sit down or we lie down, and then we're in the scroll. But what would it look like for us to be moving and doing and connecting?
Yeah. And I guess that brings us back to that beginning point of like how we still kind of define online versus offline.
Is that even a thing? What's the new word?
I don't really think there is an online
There's
versus
just a line.
offline. There is just life.
Yeah.
Actually, there is purely just life. And I think the people that are progressing through this life well are the people who recognize that the most, because you'll have the people who are completely online and they don't consider anything outside of it, and people who think technology is the worst evil on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's, they said the same about radio and they said the same about the television and all of these types of things. But it's very, once the train kind of leaves the station, it's about how you then make the best out of the situation. And I truly believe that the people who are doing the most for this next era of our lives and this next wave of technology that's coming through are the ones who are able to find that peace within themselves.
Mm.
Because for me, I found that Monday to Friday, for example, I've accepted that the 9 to 5 doesn't exist for me. Obviously, because I work, as a solopreneur or whatever fun buzzword we want to call it today. But in the Monday to Friday, I accept that I'm contactable at all hours, and that's something that I've put out into my work life and my energy, and vice versa. But then to create that separation, if I am outside of Sydney, I feel like Sydney is my work bubble. The second I'm outside of Sydney, I might be working here and there, but I have a different energy in my head to the way that I respond to a notification even. One of the best things you can really do for yourself is turn off notifications. You don't need Uber telling you.
Oh, it's the best.
You don't need Uber telling you that you need to get a ride randomly at 4 p.m. Where am I going?
You download that app, allow notifications, don't allow.
Don't allow notifications.
Just from day one.
Yeah, from day dot.
Yeah.
No one should be able to take your attention like that, but we, for some reason, allow notifications on everything when they don't need to. And then you do consider taking a ride on an Uber. I have nowhere to go.
This shit works.
But it works.
Part of me thinks about having higher standards for ourselves.
Yes, that would be nice.
Like, that's kind of what this is. I ask this question all the time in my community. How do we want to be living?
Yeah.
How do we want our lives to feel? I get the word soft, spacious, aligned, purposeful. Okay, so what are the conditions that you need to be this kind of architect of in order for that to be your reality?
Yeah.
This could be the notifications, but it could also be relationships, friendships. But it's difficult, right? Because I've even had this where if I've put boundaries in place with my friends or a particular friend, it doesn't go down very well because we are so wired to be always available. To hold each other's stuff as well. I think even as content has progressed in that we're all space holders all the time.
Yes. But your phone is not a person that you need to be available to.
Yeah.
The people in it, maybe, yes, hopefully, but the phone itself, no. I think one of the great things that you can also do is be very intentional, as much as people love and hate that word, around the different conversations that you have in different platforms and different mediums. So when I am conversing with someone like this, or when I am when we are talking face to face, I feel like the level of detail or attention that's required is very, very different to a text. One thing that I've also noticed amongst a lot of my peers and even younger is that we don't even want to text anymore. It's moved completely to voice note or voice to text. I also think AI has a large part to do with that, because when you have a voice to text conversation, you can see the difference in the cadence versus like a, hey,
it's
what's
crazy.
up? Again, my partner makes a lot of fun of me for it. He's like, I can tell when you're driving and sending a Siri voice to text because it's the longest, rambliest sentence in the world. Whereas if you're texting me, you'll be like, hey, what's up? Which has no emotion to it whatsoever and no connection to it whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, so being mindful of – it's interesting with the voice messages.
Yeah, the mini podcasts.
Well, I guess that's like this is a very unique situation and kind of self-centered in a way. My whole professional reality is centered around voice mentoring and producing a podcast.
Yeah.
And so when that started infiltrating my personal relationships, I was like, geez, Louise, this is now all I'm doing all the time.
Yeah.
And so there was a bit of tension there, and I'm not going to lie, I don't think any of my close friends listen to this, and you'll know this, right?
Yeah.
People who love us will talk about this. They rarely consume what you're doing. I do get a bit of a contraction in the body when I see the message come through and I can see that it's like a 15-minute voice and I'm like, okay, that.
15 minutes?
Oh, no.
Oh.
I know. But I think it's because of how I'm in relationship or how we're in relationship. We have that depth, and then that depth translates itself to the medium. Like it's like it doesn't, you don't lose depth. It's just permission to labour longer, be leisurely in our thinking about things. And but I am and still am having this experience. I'm like, oh, it feels like
work?
Kind of. It's more capacity.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm unsure
what's going to be.
I will listen to this, to be able to be with this in its totality.
Yeah.
And then I'm wanting to respond and interject, and I'm like, so then you're kind of note taking.
Yes,
so when you start this
listening.
kind of cataloguing process. Maybe we should be starting. What do you think about this? Like we're doing it already, but we're doing it in random notes.
Yes.
Every person just needs their own note, And then as you're doing your headlines for responses to voice message, you're just starting to build this.
But why are we creating admin work for our relationships?
Yeah.
Because I started doing something similar as well. I thought, you know what? I'm going to create a Notion dashboard so that I remember to message people.
Stop.
And then I looked at myself a week later in the mirror.
Maybe I'll sell it.
Yeah, that too. I was like, and then maybe I'll sell it. But I looked at myself in the mirror later and I was like, this is quite possibly
Get a grip.
the stupidest idea that you've ever had.
What is this?
Not because that you don't want to, you're not trying to care about people and stuff, but the fact that you feel like you have to almost workify or like
get a workflow in place.
Get a workflow in place, exactly, for your relationships.
This is what capitalism
has truly done. And because I was like, oh, I've forgotten to message this person, so I need to set
How do I make my relationships more productive?
Yes. And so then you can track, Kriti, when you saw them last and then work out how long it's been till you...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what was going through my mind at the end of last year when I thought that was...
Good student of capitalism comes up for me. We are just well trained.
Yes.
The brain is going, I know next steps.
Yep. Whereas now instead I worked out, okay, well, what is overwhelming me about communication at the moment? And it became, there's too many different platforms and you're having similar conversations across different ones, but none of them have depth. So you still feel lonely.
Well.
So then I was like, okay, I became very, very clear with a lot of my relationships. And I was like, okay, Instagram, we'll send memes, we'll, reply to stories, but that's never going to be a medium of depth for me because that's also my work.
Mm.
So we're going to go back to phone calls.
God forbid.
God forbid. And if someone texts me now, they know that it's very, very unlikely. If they call me, I'll message them being, hey, I'm in a meeting. 9 times out of 10, I'll call you back later. But then it stopped feeling like work. Mm-hmm. Because for a long time, I feel for our generation, these last few years, especially post-COVID, it has become work.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's the capitalism thing, but I also think a large part of it is the keeping up with the Joneses and the appearances elements of it all. When it comes to relationships in your 20s and 30s.
Mm. What do you think about, I'm starting to see this content trend on social around, this return to direct community, this kind of localization movement that, the human brain wasn't designed to take in every situation in every country. So, of course, those natural feelings arise in me around privilege. Well, how privileged of you to be able to, and is this not part of the problem that the disengagement then amplifying the suffering? What's your view on this? Because I suppose it's happening. The word is spreading.
The word is spreading.
And is this a good thing or a bad thing? Or is it neither of those?
I don't think it's a good thing. And that is definitely, for me, coming from that immigrant lived experience. And a lot of unfortunately, the communities that I have seen that are being like, okay, well, we're just going to bring it back into our 5-kilometer radius and that's the only thing that we're going to care about. If they are actively doing the work in that 5-kilometer radius in their communities, that would be great and I would be all for it. But I am yet to see that. That's kind of where when I saw those things and I saw this line of thinking, that's where the premise of my latest venture kind of came about as well, which is called In My Head. And that was around, we see a lot of this stuff online, right? And 9 times out of 10, you'll read an article or you'll read something in the news and then you do feel stressed out and frustrated and you're like, well, the world sucks. What am I going to do about it? And you're anxious, your mental health often deteriorates from the news, and it is for a lot of people. So what are 5 things that you can do immediately, not just to help other people, but also yourself? Because the impact that the news is having on our mental health and the level of consumption that we're having of it is a big part of the problem. But if you're still reading it anyway and you're not doing anything about it, that's what's making it worse.
Yeah.
So we had our first story that we did, which was around the South Australia algal bloom, which the premise of that for us came about because there was a Reddit thread where people were like, this is happening. Why is no one talking about this? And there were about 300 comments, and majority of them said, I know this is happening. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Mm.
And that's 9 times out of 10 the situation is most people are like, yeah, I saw the headline. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm stationary.
A lot of us are.
Yeah.
A lot of us are overwhelmed, stationary. And so for the algal bloom, it was as simple as next week when you're going grocery shopping, make sure you purchase fish from South Australia.
Yeah.
Like an easy, small
Micro action in the direction of the world you want to be living in.
Precisely.
It's daily. It's minute to minute, hour to hour. It's not these big, grand. Well, it can be.
It can be. And there is points in time where it needs to be. But if we're only building up to these, waiting and building up for these
peaks.
big moments and peaks, then during these valleys, in contrast, we then lose our sense of showing up as well on how to do that on the daily for each other, but also ourselves.
Yeah, it's a really collapsed state, isn't it?
Yes, because if you're not able to do that, then you're also in kind of like this weird fugue state kind of mindset where you're like, well, I feel like I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. And then that's making me anxious. And then because I'm not doing it, and then you get caught in that hamster wheel.
What do you think about the perception of being seen not to be doing anything, and how much is that contributing to the anxiety?
I think the being seen often rides around these big moments, right? Because you have to be seen in the big moments. It doesn't matter if you're not seen in the little moments, but the little moments are the ones that impact you every day.
Yeah. Your actual reality.
They're your actual reality.
Yeah. I just wonder about that, like how much of our anxiety comes from, or is it only because we make a living on the internet that I'm even thinking about this?
I think a lot of the times am
I anxious that I'm going to be perceived to not be doing anything, even though I know I am doing something?
And that's something that I had a conversation with another person in our industry the other day, where a lot of our jobs you'll cop some resistance or feedback online because they'll be like, oh, you did X, Y, Z, but you didn't do this. Because a lot of our job is online, people think that the only parts of our job is online. So everything that we're doing for ourselves or at a smaller scale or that doesn't make it into a press release is not happening.
Yeah.
And that's not just us kind of saying this. This is something that's on a larger perception scale that's happening across society. If a brick and mortar store doesn't post about something in particular, they're not doing anything. It's this kind of mentality of you have to show every single one of your cards at every single step of the way to be taken seriously, which is not healthy.
For that? No one.
Which is not
healthy. If that's
healthy.
The conditions, I ain't like... One thing I try and help founders with, predominantly for service-based businesses, is to begin with social impact planning.
Yeah.
Let's not have it be the thing that we start talking about 1% for the planet.
No.
And I'm not shitting on that. Like there's good work there.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of transparency around where the money's going. I think it's become more of a marketing exercise now than an actual exercise in giving and doing and, doing good. But can we actually build from that more regenerative place where we start with our impact and then allow that to shape what it is that we create, how we create it, who it's for, what we're doing with our overflow? I talk a lot about this, like profit ain't bad. It's just what you do with it. So get yourself resourced, get your needs met, get yourself to a place where you're giving from the full cup. And then you'll have this plan in place for then who gets to receive the fruit that you've laboured to get.
I think one of the things that we're seeing a lot across, traditionally there was this idea of like greenwashing, right?
Yeah.
Around sustainability. But I think we've just got social impact washing happening all across the board.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know what the buzzword is for that one. Maybe it is just impact washing. And if it is, I'm trademarking that right after this. Trademarking that right after this, because I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks now. Around like well-being, like wellness initiatives and whether it be around obviously the greenwashing when it comes to clothing, or whether it's around
beauty's a big one. Hey?
Yeah, beauty's big. Racism
Who even knows
as well.
what clean beauty is at this point?
Well, or if it's around racism and all of that, everyone has an idea of an impact that they do want to make, which is great. But often the intentions are there and the follow through isn't. And we're seeing that more and more. Maybe it's because we're more prone to seeing it now, and there's so much more going on the planet that everyone's like, oh, I need to fix every single problem. But it is becoming very, very clear that a lot of people are getting money for things that aren't actually occurring.
Yeah, which is scary.
Which is very scary.
I do sort of say, like, it's okay for you to choose the causes and issues that could be relevant in your actual reality or your past, in your local community, that could be like quite attached to the work that you're doing. It's okay for you to
pick a niche. Sometimes
kind of niche down in your giving. Like I guess that's if we want to brand it.
Niche down in giving is there you go. TM. Niche down in giving is actually
good capitalist students trademark it.
But I think niche down in giving is something that all of us need to do.
Yeah.
Because you cannot fix everything, but if you can make a tangible impact on one thing, on somewhere, that is all that you really should be looking for in this life.
Yeah. And the little build is we often connect it with money.
Yes.
But there's so many other things we can give, like our gifts and our skills, our time, like physical labor.
Yeah.
So don't be limited by this idea, well, if my business isn't even making enough money yet, how can I give? Okay, there's other ways. Scholarship programs. Mentoring. I mean, we could go on and on. So hopefully that's enlivening and opening for people listening that it isn't just this rich person's problem.
No.
Or like this tax evasion situation. My questions. Yeah. Please allow me to go back to my questions.
Sorry.
Maybe we've kind of covered this, that the younger generation, and I would say millennials as well, I put myself in here, are really yearning for that depth and that meaning and belonging. Can scroll culture exist and coexist with this or not?
I think so.
Yeah.
I truly believe that a lot of for me, a lot of the connections that I've made in my life is from being on the internet. Maybe some of them weren't as great when I was younger, and my parents probably would have, and look, back in hindsight, probably shouldn't have become friends with some of the people that I did. But as an adult, especially working in the creative fields, but then also again as an immigrant, as a brown woman who lived in regional Queensland.
Wow.
When I was about 14, I didn't have anyone else to talk. And this is how I discovered for the first time that there was a world outside of the beef capital of Australia. And that there were other people who thought like me, and that there was people who understood what I was going through. And I think that's the hardest part, is accepting that you aren't going to find everyone who is meant to play a part in your life in the 1 kilometre radius from your house. I am very, very blessed that my closest friends live within walking distance from me now, but that's because I moved to the area and I forced them to become friends with me because I walked into the bar down the road. But outside of that, we probably wouldn't have met otherwise. We don't have a lot in common. We wouldn't have found each other on the internet. So there are different people who come into your life for different reasons, absolutely. But I think it's also very important for you to intentionally go find people who might think the same way that you do for a few things.
Yeah. And so you're sort of saying it's not really about the action of scrolling. It's the sort of intent.
It's the intent. Why are you scrolling in the evening? Is it because you aren't wanting to do the dishes, or is it because you
escapism or connection?
Yeah, connection.
Yeah.
And that's the question you have to ask yourself every single time.
We need that like as a notification that pops up.
Yeah.
Before we get on Instagram, why are we here?
Escapism.
What are we looking for?
But I don't think it's just Instagram. I think it's also activities as well.
Yeah.
So if you're
if you're wordling or
well, no, not just on the phone, but activities. So if you're going to the gym 3 times a day, 7 days a week, is that escapism, or is that because you genuinely are wanting to go to the gym 3 times a day, 7 days a week?
Yeah.
If you are reading a book instead, like I went through a phase where I read 10 books in 1 week. That was also a form of escapism. Yeah. Everything can
I'm a reader now.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole idea of everything in moderation. But I think we tend to use a lot of things in our life to escape life when instead they should be nurturing and supporting our life.
Yes, this is what I am banging on about is this little rich life concept.
Yeah.
What is it going to look like for us to fully believe and act upon our agency? Really privileged to say that out loud. And so this is like a spectrum.
Yeah.
But wherever we find ourselves in whatever situation life has kind of dealt us, what is in our control? What can we tend to? How could we be choosing differently? And how do we just reclaim that sovereignty that I think this belief that we don't have it or that life is happening to us is causing us to feel all of these ways, anxious, depressed. I even hesitate to use those words because they're like diagnosed illnesses.
They're diagnosed illnesses, and me personally, I have been diagnosed with a number of those illnesses, but like we've done with a lot of things, we've taken those illnesses and taken one tiny 1% of that and used that as a personality trait.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it in the past. I'm not perfect, but we need to, there's absolutely this thing of life is occurring around me. It's whether I choose to take part of it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I can escape it in whatever way I want to, whether it be phone, gym, work. A lot of us do escape life through work.
Yeah.
I would say that's actually probably bigger than the phone.
Oh, yeah. Build a business on that one. Yeah. This bigger kind of fundamental question of do I like my life?
It's a hard one.
Whoa. And if I don't,
what can I do about it?
And then
what am I willing to do about it?
What do I sort of become this destruction operator for in the process of getting aligned in my own life? Like we often don't think about the debris.
Yeah.
With the change and the relationships, the jobs, everything that we might have to leave.
Yes.
I think this is the avoidance of it because we kind of know what's going to be required. And so let me just do another day where I just go into the doom scroll and give myself some more time for what? To build the courage maybe.
And courage takes time to build.
The financial stability, all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think courage is not something that you can just drink some water and all of a sudden it appears,
read
hydrate.
Quote.
Yeah. Read a quote and then you're ready to take on the whole world.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about Gen Z, Alpha and brands.
Yes.
How or can brands be or get more intimate with younger generations? I think so many brands are unlearning like immediacy and are having to learn kind of the patience required to be in close contact. My hunch, I'm not of your generation or below, or my feeling is that the boundaries are firmer.
Yes.
The standards are higher. Because millennials, and we just kind of let any old thing in. We really just gobbled it all up. But talk to us about that. What advice would you give to founders or brand builders who are wanting to be in relationship with Alpha and Z?
Well, I think the first thing is why. Because there's also still millennials and there's also still Gen X, and they have lot of purchasing powers.
Yeah. I asked someone this the other day, exploring talent management, and they said, well, the first thing brands are going to ask us is how you're engaging Gen Z. And I said, well, do I have to?
Do you? Yes.
And that was like, of course you do. I'm like, well, I'm 40 and I have a very healthy audience of 28 to 50-year-olds.
Yes.
There's a good lot here.
Yeah.
If you're willing to allow me to go deep here.
And this is coming from someone who is a Gen Z expert and works with, brands the first question is why? And I don't believe that 99% of brands are asking themselves that question.
They're not.
Because the reality is globally, we are getting a larger aging population. We are having more and more people have less kids, live longer in that sense, and not having the purchasing power of those younger kids come up in the same way of previously you'd be like, okay, well, we've got young families. Not as much.
Yeah.
Now you've got 35 to 45-year-old single people who have a greater...
Dinks, we call them.
Yeah, dinks. Dinks, absolutely. And they have the largest amount of purchasing power. Please don't quote me on that statistically, but that's currently where it's heading.
There, hey?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think we can assume that.
Consumer habits, I'm pretty sure it is. You look at America, which for the first time in a large number of years, their population, their birth rate, has dropped below 1.6.
Wow.
You look at Japan, who has one of the largest aging populations. These are the people, they don't have Gen Z grandchildren and great-grandchildren that they're giving their money to. They have the money. They are buying things. They are the ones going on holidays. If your brand has no correlation with Gen Z, why would you try and squeeze a square into a circle?
It's such a fragmentation of mission, purpose, service or product when you then, I'm not saying don't extend in some way. There could be some type of brand extension.
Yes.
But to pivot your entire... So what would be a good answer to that question of what would you be wanting to see from a brand who's like, we want to reach Gen Z, and you're going, talk to me about why. What would you want to be hearing?
I would want to be hearing, okay, so I think a lot of great brands that have done this well is like the cruise lines and the travel brands, and I've worked with a few of these guys, and they don't change the way that they communicate to their other audiences, but they create new offerings for their Gen Z. So they haven't changed their overarching brand. Yeah. But a lot of time, unfortunately, when we are having these conversations, people are saying, no, we want to change our whole brand. Well, then you've lost all of this goodwill.
And your revenue.
All of this community, all of your revenue that you've built up over a very extended period of time to test something that probably won't work because you haven't changed the product, which is catered to that audience. You've changed just the way that you want to sell
your
that product.
Logo,
your logo, your colors, your copy. A lot of the travel groups have done this really well. They've created extensions. They've got their overarching brands. I think it's
kind of like the old Diffusion brand, isn't it?
So you've got like Moxie under the Hilton Group, for example, that very much targets kind of like that hostel, zillennial cusp traveler, which is where I fall into. Because I love staying in hostels for the sociability aspect, but I don't want to stay in a bunk bed. I'm not 18. And so that's how those new brands are starting up because they're seeing that market. That
so it's essentially a startup within the larger
absolutely
ecosystem of the brand.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because there is no point changing a legacy brand for a non-legacy customer.
Yeah.
The thing is, Gen Z are not legacy-based customers. We will go to where we do feel connected and there's an emotional resonance, and then also sometimes if the aesthetic fits into with our life aesthetic, that's a big important thing that we kind of really gravitate to, but we're not necessarily going to be a legacy customer for 2 decades that these customers have been.
Just don't consume that way anymore. No. There's not that. It's not a lack of loyalty, it's a lack of relevance, I think.
Lack of relevance, because relevance doesn't last as long. Loyalty does, but relevance doesn't.
Yeah. That's fascinating. We've got these micro movements, these fandoms, these laws, these subcultures on the internet. What do you think this reveals about how younger people develop their identity today or try and belong?
I feel like these days we have less after school activities, or we have less of the spaces, the third spaces, as people have harped on about a lot this year, to find that sense of identity, to allow for that room to play. Play is something that we need at all ages. And we don't get that a lot at the ages of our life that we're at. So even in the older age demographics of Gen Z, you do have, obviously, like you've got your Taylor Swift fandom, you've got like the Swifties, and you've got Marvel and all of these big ones. And that transcends because it doesn't necessarily seep into your work life in the same way.
It's it's just for you, isn't it?
It's just for you. Obviously, you take the big brands, and if you work in media, they'll seep into your life anyway. But it allows you to have a personal relationship with something that you don't necessarily have to share the way that you think about it with someone that you're getting coffee with.
Yeah.
Fandom is also a great driver to then, again, connect with people. And that's what it always comes down to, is being able to connect with people. So yes, you have something for yourself, but if you choose to then go out into the world, you can be like, hey, it's like this little signifier. Yeah. It's, you remember the days of like traffic light parties or something like that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but it's a new signifier to say that this is something that we could talk about in some way if we wanted to talk and get to know each other.
And in many ways, you're safe.
Yeah.
You're immediately a safe space because if you like this, then you get this. And there's probably a value system in there.
Yeah. The safe space thing, I think, is a big part of it as well, because there's so much polarization at the moment, and polarization that we keep feeding. So to find something, and that's why, Reddit is such a great place for that reason. I spend a great deal of time on there for research and work purposes, but also because I love revisiting subreddits for like Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Gilmore Girls hasn't been on the air for 2 decades.
I really need to watch that series. I was not a Gilmore Girl girly.
You were not a Gilmore Girl girly.
Which surprises a lot of people because I look like the Gilmore. I know, I didn't.
Yes.
I wasn't a big TV gal.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Really intense mental and emotional world.
Yeah.
So just very introverted, thinking about stuff that doesn't matter a lot of the time.
So what did you turn to?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. So music, actually, I should say that. Music as a throughway to feeling something. So just textured childhood and all the rest. But realized early on that I had trouble feeling my feelings.
Yeah.
And music became a bit of a pathway into, if I put a sad song on, then it'll help me conjure the feelings of sadness that I do feel trapped in my body and need to get out. I would think a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a researcher.
Yep.
So I just get quite niche into a topic and then know it till the nth degree.
That's what I use Reddit for. I have a few different things that came up last week. I was on a work trip and I got into a whole 10-minute conversation about how obsessed I am with the Panama Canal. Never been through the Panama Canal, but the lock system and the sea on different depths has lived in my brain since I was 14.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm like, and this right here, that moment, it was like, oh, music conjure up sad feelings, and that connection type of space. Communities allow for that in that way, but again, it's that proximity thing, right? You're not necessarily going to find someone at the coffee shop or in your office who understands that there is a 200-meter depth difference between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean off the top of your brain.
Yeah.
But
so much of what we're talking about is it's like demanding more for ourselves but demanding more from the internet.
Yes.
Because there's different levels of playing.
Yes.
And what we're kind of getting into is how in control we are
of your experience.
Yeah, and what level we choose to go to, isn't it? And The easiest level is
scrolling through reels.
Passive.
Yeah, very
reels
passive. Scrolling.
What would it look like for us to get on and say, I want more for myself?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and I have to find the more.
Yes.
I have to be diligent in my pursuit of that. So what are my hashtags that I'm whatever? Yeah. When I'm going on Reddit, how specific can I be with what I'm looking for or what I'm interested in? And then this concept also of like deliberate friction. How do I get really comfortable with not knowing where this ends or where this goes, and that this is a process for me to be in? That at midnight I might end up nowhere.
Yes. Well, also the acceptance, we're stuck on this level of like immediate gratification, right, as well. So many people, previously it'd be like, oh, I'll just Google it, but now people are saying, oh, I'll just chat GPT it, which is a scary jump.
We could have a whole other conversation.
But so if you are just going to chat GPT it, is that where you leave it? Are you just chat GPTing the one question, okay, I'm going back to the Panama Canal, sorry, it's in my head. How many locks are in the Panama Canal? And you go to chat GPT and you look it up. Is that where your sense of discovery and wonder ends? Mm. Or do you then implore yourself to go out and watch a documentary, go to Panama?
Find the Facebook group.
Yeah, but go, like where do you want to take this journey? If it is purely just to answer a quick question with a quick answer for the sake of knowing it in the moment, that is then that passive level of play and discovery that we are falling into.
Yeah. What is my intent?
Yeah.
What am I kind of hoping for?
Yeah.
Not to be too outcome orientated, but I would love to find a friend who's also interested in this.
Yes.
That would add value to my life.
Yes.
Cool. So that will dictate
what
the level of research.
The level of research, whether I go to a reading or a poetry night, whatever it may be.
Yeah. What happens to subculture? What happens when subculture goes mainstream? How should brands respond? So much of the mentoring I do with founders is, how can we be around this? It's like, should you?
Yes.
So what advice do you give to brands who are starting to sort of see something trend or kind of have that lift-off moment and they want to play in the space? What is your advice? What do you sort of run brands through to think about it?
I'm trying to think of the last bit of subculture that's really seeped into the mainstream.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I feel like it happens every day.
But
like,
then in the moment, I'm like trying to think.
6-7 maybe?
6-7 was exactly what I was going to say.
Could we be more original?
I think with that,
good example.
It's a great example actually at the moment, especially with, was it Oxford? One of the dictionaries.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
put it as the word of the year. I have had a number of people. I've got
thoughts and feelings about that. My goodness.
I've had a number of people message me and they're like, what does this mean? And I'm like, it actually doesn't mean anything.
It's so crazy. When my little girl said it, my heart broke in two pieces because obviously I'm aware of it. She's 4.5, she's nearly 5.
Yeah.
And she came home and she does this little thing where when she knows that I'm going to be surprised, she kind of looked at me and she was like, 6-7. And then she like paused. And I was like, baby, how did you know that? She's like, so-and-so, her friend, I won't name her name, has a brother.
Yeah.
And she'd gone over to get, for a little play date. The exposure is micro.
Yes.
But then, of course, her friend's bringing it into preschool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, and I said to her, do you know what it means? She was like, no. And I was like, it doesn't mean anything. It's weird, but other things mean things.
Other things mean things.
This is an anomaly.
Yes. This is like the safest anomaly as well when you think about it. But in that case, we have seen brands jump onto it. And I'm like, so your brand stands and means nothing is the way that I would take
powerful.
That. Your brand stands for and means nothing.
So you're sort of saying in them doing it, they're revealing that they don't know what it means, which is nothing. Because then if they knew, they wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Because my other question for you was, and it's kind of like a dumb question, but like how essential is it to have Alpha and Z voices on brand teams?
It is absolutely essential to have Alpha and Z voices on brand teams, and they would say the same thing. They would be like, why are you making a TikTok about 6'7" as a hair brand?
Yeah.
As a hair care brand.
Some stuff you can just leave. It's okay for you to not be connected with this.
And the thing is, the life of a meme, right? The second that brands jump on is already too late because the meme is dead. And therefore you are not actually going to connect.
We're already cringing.
You're not going to connect to the audience, the life of a subculture meme. So, and it's gotten a lot faster now. Like previously you had a lot more time.
Yeah, what are we talking, like months?
Yeah, previously, now you have 24 hours. Because the second that you have seen it in the news and then you're talking to your exec or your brand leader or all of that type of stuff, whoever it may be, the second that you're in that conversation and it's already been in a news.com, Daily Mail, TikTok explainer article, it's too late.
It's over.
Because if your marketing team is coming to you with it rather than your social exec or like your Gen Z and like someone who's not actually in the social team per se, like the marketing team per se, then it's too late.
Yes.
And this is why I say that your brand shouldn't just have Gen Z and Alpha people on the social team. Your company should have Gen Z across the board at this stage. In
terms of age, even. We're not even talking about them not being old enough.
Yeah, I'm the last year millennial. I'm 29, so 28 and under is Gen Z.
Yeah.
There are a lot
I was a publisher at 28.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's
But it's always the strategy, I think, for the smart businesses and brands know that.
Yes.
Getting you can be deeply experienced and young.
Yes. Yeah.
But getting deeply experienced, quite intuitive, strategic young people at the top
is hard.
It's hard to find them, but once you find them, can you be brave enough to employ them? Yeah. Can you be even braver to pay them what you were paying the person who left the role?
And also listen to them.
And then listen to them. Don't have them be this kind of tokenistic thing. It's interesting when I reflect back on my experience in digital media and going from essentially weekend editor to group publisher by 28. I definitely would have valued my elders on maybe even below leadership level because we were all really young.
Yeah.
And so that meant that it was exciting and it was fast-paced and we were innovative and we launched like there was no tomorrow and we won all the awards. But I think without speaking too far out of school, I think part of our challenge was we lacked traditional media experience, which is actually really good business experience. Yes. So it's like you need
all people at the table, and there is that whole thing. You have to have everyone from juniors, and we're losing obviously a lot of juniors and entry level because of the rise of AI and the cutting of costs and stuff. But then also you do need people who have the business acumen experience from working in the industry. But the reality is both ends need to be willing to sit at the same table.
Massive.
Both ends, because the problem goes both ways. Someone who's like 21 is like, I don't want to chat to the 50-year-old manager. They're not going to listen to me. And the 55, 60-year-old is like, what's a 21-year-old going to know about this?
Yeah. So the role of good CEOs is to ensure that everybody on their LT understands why everybody's on the LT, what they contribute, where to extract value from that person. Yeah. This idea that we're all just not the same but should be able to do it all. I feel like we're coming out of that now where it's like
not everyone can do it. No one can do it all. That's what I mean.
But I think especially in the girl boss era, offline being a really big love letter to like breaking up with that. We were sort of sold that, no, you do have to do it all and know it all and be an expert at it all. And that was where the fatigue and the exhaustion and the burnout came from, was pretending that
you knew the answer to everything.
Wow. If I just asked for help earlier by somebody who knew. Many more questions for you, conscious of the time. I wonder how we're going. We don't have a clock, so we're here in time and space. suspended in nothingness.
That would be nice, actually.
Yeah. I feel that we've officially shifted from demographics to energetics.
Yes.
Just less focused on how old someone is.
Yes.
And more focused on like the frequency that they're on, their belief system. I can't even talk about like, say with offline, like I mentor women, age, it's like, no, I'm stage of life or realization.
Yeah.
So you can realize that you're not on purpose in your career at 22 or 42.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, so we're kind of moving away from this demographic based everything to the energetics of it all. How can brands meet the frequency of their target audience today? So what can brands be doing to sort of strategize less against you're a woman who's 35 years old and you live in this city and your income is about this much, and be thinking more about, I suppose it's like the energy, the feeling, the frequency of it all?
I think one of the great things is the interest habits. Like I know this is going back to like old school meta digital marketing, but interest targeting is way, way better than demographic based targeting. And if you're looking at, you know, a 25-year-old who lives in regional Australia, works as a nursing student, saving, like you will see that in their Instagram interests. You will see the people that they follow. That is more of that audience persona, absolutely. But we've gotten really bogged down in I want a 25 to 35-year-old who lives in the city. Yeah. That's it. And beyond that, then you can find other brands and other lifestyle aspirations that have nothing to do with yours.
Yeah.
Because then people get too self-conscious around, okay, well, if we're a beauty brand, then there are probably going to be so many other beauty brands. But no, you can look at their consumption habits around memes. The meme pages that they follow as a 28-year-old is going to be very different to a 38-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that's a much bigger insight and a much better resource of your targeting and understanding. And that's why pages like the satirical pages such as like Miss Double Bay and all of that have done so well because they've tapped into the persona itself and they've tapped into the likes and dislikes. You can't really, yes, by and large, you know how old the average person in Double Bay is, but there is a particular memeified profile of that exists.
Yeah.
And that's that page is a great resource tool in that sense if you want to target someone there. But similarly, then you've got in Newtown, you've got like that different demographic. Or if you're looking in, say, Perth, there's kind of like the meme pages that digest that. I think people take memes and edits and fandom so unseriously, but they should be the start of your research.
Clues into who she really is or who he really is.
Big movie studios now are hiring TikTok fan edit makers as their editors for their social accounts for these movie rollouts because they're creating hype edits way, way, way better than the traditional ideation processes that they had.
Isn't it?
I think Lionsgate and Warner Brothers are really spearheading that at the moment.
That's really exciting. I love to see this. I'm like, yes, here they come.
Very exciting.
I suppose this extends into the world-building nature of it all. So how do we move away from being these kind of static brand identities? I've been talking a lot about atmosphere building as a brand, and it's very subtle. I think, again, we're in this world where the metrics are hard and fast. They're known. They like to be declared up front. And it's like to invest in world building is still quite a new sort of concept for a lot of brands in like what does it look like to have somebody sort of cognize the emotional landscape of your brand. And they're like, what is that? It's like, well, that's how people are going to feel when they engage with the brand.
There's a really great example of this London wanker banker, apologies right there for my swearing, who started with his TikTok profile. He, really embodied that finance bro energy that exists over there and created a world in that. So he played this character. He does work in finance, all of that type of stuff traditionally, but he built that to life more so. From that, he then launched a quarter zip series, whatever they're called. I don't know.
I know those things.
Yeah, those ones that they all wear. And the rollout of that was around, he was at a ski resort because, again, he works in finance. His dad, who runs the company, troubling him, created this whole persona and this lifestyle that people were like, well, if I buy the quarter zip, I'm going to be part of that life. But that wasn't rolled out until probably 3 years after he started building that world.
Yeah.
Till his audience was familiar with his skit and his mannerisms, the trust in the fact that, yes, this is a character, but we know what he's going to give us consistently each time. We're not going to expect anything different.
Yeah.
We'll be surprised because there'll be like different caricatures and stuff that come up. But he built an entire brand out of that.
Yeah. So I belong, but I'm also entertained.
Yes.
It like meets so many of the kind of basic human needs and desires.
And then finally, he then also now has a physical product out of it. So not only was he then originally making, money from the account and all of that type of stuff and building that, he has his finance background. Now he also has a product. And so he is diversifying and capitalizing on all of it.
You need those diverse revenue streams.
Yes, absolutely. So,
and I suppose we should say that in this world building exercise, what we're not saying is every brand needs to have everything in the sense of so it's also that working with strategists who have that sort of, I feel it's very intuitive.
Yeah.
Like it's really difficult to say that because you're like, well, so much of what we do is felt and just known based on what we've consumed and our ability to predict and synthesize information and understand what's going on. But you want to be working with people who go, I get it, but no, not that. Like we're not going to do the product line, or we don't need to have the
6-7 TikTok today.
Or or like any of these things. Yeah. But what would sort of naturally surprise and delight your customer in this world building exercise? What would fit here, but not having to do it. Yeah, I just wanted to say that because I'm like, not everybody needs everything.
And I think the most powerful person that you can have in your back pocket is someone who is confident and willing enough to say no to you.
Yeah. Nice. Help me think about that is my favorite approach of like, cool, just unpack a little bit more for me. I'll type up my observations. Here are my recommendations. It's a no.
It's a no.
Okay, a few more questions for you. What do you think is Gen Z's overall take or thoughts on authenticity?
We hate the word. I don't
hate the word, but believe in the meaning?
I don't even think I believe in the meaning anymore.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? It's lost its
truth.
And
true.
But the thing is, something that I feel we forget is that words do lose meaning over time, and words do then also come up to reflect the different state of life and the way that the globe has expanded. Podcast wasn't a word until...
Yeah, I read about that the other day.
Something to do with the iPod way back when.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. And
was it a Steve Jobs moment?
Yeah, it was a Steve Jobs moment. We are now on a podcast.
Yeah.
Podcast wasn't a word 2 decades ago. I don't believe that authenticity carries the weight of the word now that it did a few years ago. So therefore, I don't believe that Gen Z are looking for authenticity.
Yeah, because it doesn't mean the same thing.
It doesn't mean the same thing.
What would be the replacement?
I think this is why I wish I could create new words.
Yeah.
And there's often times where I will go onto sites to find words to explain what I feel in other languages.
Interesting.
And now I'm just trawling through Hindi in my brain, so my brain is malfunctioning a little bit.
I want to say something around genuine. There's something
unbridled honesty.
Interesting.
Because not all brands can do that.
Yes. What does that mean, unbridled honesty?
I think you'll have seen over the last few years that some brands are really, really good and really fast at owning up to their mistakes.
Yeah.
And other brands will be like, again, not to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that. Oh, we're a small young business when they're not a small business, or we're a female founded business. Like, please, we make mistakes. We're a business. Those are two very, very different responses. And in those moments when it is a brand that's making $100 million in revenue a year and they go, oh, we're a small business, we make mistakes, we're human too, versus a brand probably of a lesser scale or stature being like, we come in hard and fast, we're strong, we messed up. That unbridled honesty is something that the audience is going to connect with so much better, rather than you saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm human, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Please forgive me, but I'm not going to change anything. Because the thing is, when you say
authentic honesty.
Yeah, authentic honesty.
But we just can't call it that because it doesn't mean that.
Because I think something that we're all taught as children is that you can't keep making the same mistakes. And a lot of brands do keep making the same mistakes and keep playing the, oh, we're human, we make mistakes.
And expect to be forgiven every time.
And expect to be forgiven. But you have to show that you've changed. And the same goes in relationships, right? You have a fight with your partner and you're like, oh, but you did this last time and you apologized and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Why are we willing to give a corporation more leeway than we are our friends?
Yeah, because ultimately we still want what they've got. And this comes back to the having higher standards for ourselves. And a big part of the work I'm getting into is values excavation and really understanding for each of us, what does integrity mean?
Yep.
What are our ethics? You ask people these questions and they're like, what are ethics?
What are ethics?
What's the difference between ethics and
values?
And so this is really interesting that we've reached this kind of point where we almost have to go back to school on this stuff, bed down in what that is for us, declare it, own it, and then take action through it.
Yep.
But I don't think it's been that required up until this point.
No.
I think we could kind of get away with it for a while.
We really could.
And now it's like this big turn towards, okay, well, not in a cliche, cheesy way, but what really are my values?
What do I care about at the end of the day?
Yeah, and I'm into this a lot with AI, ethical use of AI. What does that look like for me? Because it's going to be different for me than it is for you. And I keep saying there's no framework. There can be, if you see a framework, run the other way, because the framework is probably handed down by the tech who wants to dictate how you use it and get you comfortable with it. One thing I'm building is essentially an ethics compass.
Yeah.
I'm using AI to build it.
Yeah.
Naturally. But it's going to be what your response to your end ethics statement for AI is going to be very different to mine, based on the scenarios I move you through. So real world, this or that, or if this happens, how do you feel about it? It's all going to be based on your belief system. Your unconscious values are going to get pulled to the top, but this should be the sovereignty piece.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and it's really good and healthy for us to have different ethics and values, and this is what keeps the world
going.
But when we try and get into this world of right and wrong and this is the way, it's no, based on you, your privilege, your reality, you can say all these things and lay this down as this is what we should all be doing, but you don't know what other people are kind of tending to and dealing with, or what they've been through that informs why that's not right for them. But I'm just thank God, the death of the framework, please.
Oh,
please.
We don't need a framework for everything. We don't need a Notion board for everything.
We don't. So Notion and I
mean, don't get me wrong, I love Notion.
No.
I do use it, but I don't.
Someone who is sort of hyperfixates on visual world, aesthetic, for me to get actually really useful in my business, everything has to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm doing all the tests to find out all the things about myself. It slows me down. So I've got it and I use it sometimes, but I get so caught up in the design that I never actually get to the work.
I've just gone back to my notes.
Yeah, amazing.
Literally my notes app. I have a folder for each client project, and then days, simple, nothing else. And then color coordinated my calendar, and that's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
Because who else is all the other stuff for? We think we need it to be more successful, to make more money. No. You're making less money designing your Notion board. If you were just creating the content that you're strategizing or trying to strategize on the goddamn Notion board.
Yeah. As long as you can get it from Word onto paper within 2 seconds of it appearing in
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I have all of these thoughts that, throughout the day, and if I don't write them down, then it's never going to come out.
Yeah.
But that's why
that ID capture system.
Yeah.
Not even a system, notes.
It's not even a system, it's just notes. And then you can search it and you can scroll your notes more than you scroll your Instagram reels.
Seriously, there's some good shit in my notes.
There are so many good things in my notes. And then also just writing by hand, but I can't read my handwriting anymore.
And all of a sudden I'm like writing in only capital letters. I'm like, okay. Why? Why are we doing this? It's very shouty.
Yes.
Shouting it out.
Notebooks.
I think it's because my husband writes with capital letters. He's got beautiful handwriting. And I just hadn't written in so long that when I returned to it, all of a sudden I'm in caps. Okay.
We digress.
One or two more. They're quite big ones. I think they're both worth asking. What is your projection for what the internet and brand building is going to look like in what are we, 2025?
5 years, so 2030.
2030?
Yeah, 2030. I don't believe people will be online in the same, as we mentioned at the start of this conversation, the amount of time people are spending on traditional social media apps has decreased, actually. It's just marketers who are spending more time on there.
Marketers marketing to each other.
Marketers marketing to each other. And that's something that has become really front of mind, I would say, in the last year for majority of us, that it is us creating products for each other, us creating content that'll appeal to another marketer rather than to to whoever we want to really reach. So it's going to be it's one of those things where, they talk about the frog and the pot and you're slowly boiling it so that it doesn't jump out. Mm. And I feel we have been slowly boiling a lot of our consumers and our audiences.
Driving them off the internet. And so that means that there will be new avenues that come up in the next 5 years. Don't necessarily know what they are. I think we're seeing a lot more the product placement in movies and stuff has existed from the conception, but it's becoming a lot more prevalent. You're seeing it in books now even. You'll be reading a story. Wow, what an infiltration of ads into those really intimate spaces.
Into really, really intimate spaces. So contrastingly, more and more of us will be trying to find spaces where no ads can get into. So I've noticed even in my sauna, there are ads.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
yes,
that's interesting.
Are you monetizing my sweat session? Yeah.
Yes. So the most valuable experiences for a consumer will be places without infiltration. But from the brand side of things, it will be
how they're going to make money.
For the brand side of things, it will be the likes of books, and you're seeing this a lot with, the rise of these like community-led events that aren't really community-led events. They're all brand-sponsored events. 90% of them are brand-sponsored events. In the last 2 years, there's been a massive influx.
Which we know in this industry, it's kind of the only way that doing an event can be break even. Hopefully a little bit profitable.
Yeah.
But they're typically sort of equity building exercises. They're not, or community building.
Community building. But the thing is, it's the same 20 people going to these same brand events each time.
Yeah.
You're not reaching the person who's not on the internet already or who's not following your brand already. The way that people are finding out about these brand events is because they follow your brand. Yeah. They want some free stuff. They have to do something with their Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
But beyond that, from the consumer perspective, it's not bringing you in particularly unless they're bringing, their friends and all of that type of stuff. But it's reaching the same audience again and again and again.
Yeah. Which
is
talk
great.
About this. It's like there's two ways to grow a business.
Yes.
One way is to get lots of new customers all the time. The other is to extract more value from the customers you already have.
Yes.
So that's fine if that's your model.
But I don't believe that is the model for all of them.
That's right. Yeah.
I also do fear that, again, with the marketing bubble that we do live in, we do see the same stuff day in, day out. So maybe we're the only ones feeling this. So it's, having to ask yourself
like thinking about stuff that doesn't matter. Like,
maybe.
I'm like, stop. No one's thinking this, Alison. Just let
you're
the mind
overthinking
rest.
this. The overthinking personality traits has seeped into your work life way too much. But then I do talk to people who don't engage with this stuff, and they kind of say similar things. They're like, well, I have no desire to go to an event run by a confectionery company that includes a running activity, and then we get matcha at the end.
Yeah. It's got to be deeper. I will share with you, as a community-driven brand, it's exceptionally difficult to build revenue streams.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
When your entire business model is reliant on the trust that you have with the people. Being a service provider, there is a capacity of service.
Yes.
Like just literally, even when I do group work, it's still kind of capped in a way.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I think about this podcast. We were speaking about it before we turned on. I've had one really incredible, supportive partnership. I've sat out of ads for the last 4 years because I'm like,
ad reads are also a lot of work.
And also it's like, when I started 7 years ago, brands weren't buying the way I wanted to sell. And so I didn't sell until I found a brand that was willing to kind of go the distance with me. I could retain creative control.
Yeah.
I could do it the offline way. But I do think that, or certainly what I'm hearing from brands, is there is a readiness now to trust the creator and to let the creator be the usher into the community.
Absolutely.
It has to be it's not my terms, it's the community's terms. And I am the shepherd.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
So not that they're the sheep. That's the wrong analogy. But that's my responsibility. Yeah. But it's intense for brands. And you go into these pitches and they're like, wow, it's a lot. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot.
It is
like,
a lot.
Are you willing?
Yeah.
And you also have to pay in alignment with how remarkably difficult it is to get in front of these people.
Yeah.
Regardless of how many of them there is, because they're in this world where they're like, well, how many downloads? So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like if I've got a certain amount, they're listening 80 to 90% of the way through of a 2-hour conversation, it doesn't need to be 4 million people listening to 10 minutes.
No.
If that's what you're buying on and why are you buying?
Yeah.
Conversion, sales, association. So like starting to now get into these deeper conversations, but it's a lot. Like some days I'm just like, it feels too hard.
Yeah.
But then I know it's not sustainable to just continue investing in production and everything that's in,
Absolutely. No, I completely get that.
This is my permission asking slip. But yeah, it is big.
But the thing that I was trying to say is that sometimes, and there was a great piece that I read last week by Rolodex Media, which is a new startup covering
I'll have a
business and kind of brand stuff. Yeah, it's very, very cool. And they were talking about around aspiration and growing and how, I can't remember the title now and I'm going to mess this up, but in Australia you're kind of limited by the reach and the potential and the consumers and all of that type of stuff, and why to really grow, whether it be like as a brand or as a business, you do have to look overseas. But then a lot of the conversations that I know people have been having is previously it would go from the Australian dream to the American dream, right?
Yeah.
And now that kind of projectional pipeline doesn't feel real or tangible for a lot of us anymore, obviously, given politics or
trade.
Yep, trade,
everything.
All of that type of stuff. And then I think a lot of people forget about our backyard. They forget about Asia.
Yeah.
They really do.
Major.
whenever and it's coming up in a few different conversations depending on the circles that you kind of travel in, but there was this great thing that I saw the other day. It's like, well, are you really big, or have you really hit market saturation if you're not big in Asia, if you're not big in China and India, which
and
are the two?
Why don't we value that as...
I mean, underlyingly, we do know why in Australia is to a large portion of why people don't value that.
Yeah. It always comes back. It comes back to our inherent biases, unconscious racism.
Yeah. And
it all comes back to the same seed.
It all comes back to the same seed. And so for me, I also flicked that switch in my head finally this year. I was like, okay, well, I've constantly talked about moving back to the States, but why am I not looking from where I'm actually from, where I probably have the largest amount of residents that I could have?
How does that feel for you, like something you're seriously considering?
Quite strongly. I mean, in the sense of once there's a few more things that I want to get up and running here, but to then focus on India makes a lot of sense for me.
What a reclaiming.
And it's something that I think a lot of creators and influencers have recognized in Australia, who are in my space, who are, brown, come from the subcontinent. They're definitely tapping into that market as well, because why would you want to go somewhere where you're not wanted?
Yeah. All over again.
All over again.
As an exercise in proving or demonstrating your value in the world when you're already so valued.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a reclaiming.
Yes. That's
of
probably
identity, heritage.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of this year for myself outside of work even.
Yeah. And is it interesting or not that your work led you there? Do you know in the sense that that's not actually first and foremost personal work? It was actually strategic.
Yes.
That then I'm hearing turned into personal.
Bit of both. I think they went hand in hand. The reclaiming of my sense of self and my culture is something that's come about over the last few years quite extensively, off the back of a relationship where the person that I was dating told me that they loved me, but they didn't see me as a person that they could be with because I didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin. And that took a lot of personal, heavy work to kind of overcome that. Because obviously, growing up as an immigrant child, central Queensland, experienced all of those things. But I think I did the work of that in my teenage years, and I really, went to therapy, worked through that. Classic story, but to experience that in my mid-20s in a whole different scale was something that I had to really come to terms with as myself, but also to the conversation that we had earlier, the standards that we set for ourselves, the fact that I allowed myself to be in that relationship for so long, even after hearing those words.
Yeah.
And so then I spent the last 2 years kind of learning that part about myself, but then also seeing, well, in my work life, I'm still experiencing so many levels of microaggressions and racism, and it's gotten a lot worse over the last year in Australia, I would dare say. For a lot of people, this is definitely the worst we've ever seen it. So not that I'm saying I'm running back to my own country as as I'm sure many people would love to hear. But finding a level of love for myself in all facets, but then also recognizing that, okay, if I can't get seats at this table here or in America because of the color of my skin, I'm going to take everything that I can from here and use it to build bigger tables where we can have more people who do feel the same way.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
So you don't have to earn the right, earn the seat somewhere that has never been willing.
No.
You're like optional.
Yeah.
That sense of this makes sense in and around our diversity and inclusion program.
Yeah.
And that we need to have younger people and voices and
all of that fun stuff.
This all gets really ticked, but ultimately it's still a tick.
It's still a tick.
Yeah.
It's well and good to have, cool if you tick the boxes and stuff, but I've been told, and a lot of people in my space have been told, it's like, we want your brains, but we don't want your face. We don't want to see. We love the ideas and we love the strategy. And I think that that's something from that work side that really does bog you down.
That I'm going to keep coming up against this.
Yeah.
This isn't going to change. I can't keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different outcome. So this is what you're saying is, at what point do I have higher standards for myself?
Yeah.
And just discontinue the pursuit.
Of trying to
belong somewhere.
That doesn't want me there.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. I honoured that you felt you could and safe enough to
Thank you.
To go there. You can't go anywhere too soon.
No, I won't.
And any moves that you make, we need to be knowing where you are and how to follow your work. The final question I have is actually more on the personal side. Yeah. So when I started the podcast 7 years ago, I ended every episode with, when you're sitting in your true self, who are you? So I've done this beautiful exploration of that. Now I'm sort of moving into this idea of true self success, the little rich life, your own version of success. Talk to us about whether it's something that's in the here and now and is real for you. I've recently gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Which wasn't true for me, when I started the podcast. It was still a vision I was anchoring into. But talk to us about whether it's now or it's coming, your version of true self-success, your version of that little beautiful, meaningful, sweet, rich life.
I think I'm just entering it. And I've experienced a few things this year that have really made me be like, wow, okay, I'm good. Like I think previously I was like, okay, what's next? Like, how can I, keep growing constantly, because we've, that capitalist mindset and all of that type of fun stuff. But for the first time, I would say for the second half of this year, like going into the second half of this year, I was like, I'm happy. And that was because I feel both financially stable enough and career safe enough, and then also personally content enough to then just be like, okay, my sister's getting engaged in India next week. I can hop on a flight tomorrow and I can come back and fight, and that's fine. And that level of being able to do that in that moment, take a little bit of a break for 3 days, go do that and come right back, was, while it was stressful because family,
family and wedding,
it was this moment where I was like, oh, I can do this. I can fly over there, go to the wedding,
nothing
be
breaks.
my sister's, run around all over Mumbai, which is very hard to do, come back, land at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then go speak on a panel at 9 a.m. and then come home and have dinner on my, I can do that and can do it all in that. For me, that is doing it all.
Yeah.
For me, that is the woman who has it all for myself.
Yeah.
And then similarly, this weekend I flew up to Brisbane, which nowhere near as far, but flew up to Brisbane and landed this morning for my friend's engagement that happened last week. And then I think my little rich life is being able to show up for my family and friends.
Beautiful.
Whereas previously I had to constantly be like, no, I have to work.
Yeah. I have to miss out.
Whereas now I'm been able to find a way to be able to do it both, because I've gotten far enough in my career that I can, push back and be like, oh, I can't do this day, I can do another day, which, as a junior 18, 19-year-old, no one's going to have, obviously. But
we wish they did. We wish. Yeah.
But to be able to have that and recognize that, wow, I've spent so many years trying to get to that point, and now that I've gotten it is a very, very, very beautiful feeling.
Yes. I'm so grateful that you've said all of that, because sometimes we've got it, we just haven't even recognized that it's here.
No.
And so what do we need to do to push our reality into our bones is how I feel.
Yeah.
When it's no longer a concept or a pursuit, it's actually your living reality.
Yeah.
And then can you exist from a place of knowing that this is it and I've done it? And like more will come.
Absolutely.
And actually even more will come now because I'm so satisfied with what I have.
Yeah.
But that if it was, and this is where I am too, if it was just this,
I would be happy.
Perfect. Some days I'm like, perhaps not more, actually. So stop writing more strategy, Alison. Just whoa it.
I was like, I'm comfortable.
Yep.
I can see my friends and family at a moment's notice and I can actually be present.
Yep.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
Because my partner, he lives overseas, so he travels a lot for work. So the biggest thing for me is like, as long as I can, at a moment's notice, if something happens, am able to go to wherever he is. Right now, I believe he is in Quebec.
Don't quote me on it.
Don't quote me on that. He's traveling today, so I don't know where he is. But if he needed me and I could fly over there tomorrow, that is all I feel like I need to enjoy this life. Yeah, that's what I'm doing this for.
So also making a good contribution. You are so intelligent, incredible ideas, beautiful execution. So there's the nourishment that comes from knowing that you're using your gifts and skills in a really useful, valuable way. I'm not even going to go say productive. It's not even about that. But that feeling that comes with actually making a meaningful contribution, as well as being able to be available for your friends and family. I've been talking a lot about enoughness in my work. The money thing's really big. For most of us, depending on, I think, for most people I interact with aren't from generational wealth and don't come with an inheritance in tow and all those incredible things. And like, I'm happy. I generally am happy for those people. I'm like, you should really love that and just adore that and do everything you can with that. But for many of us, most of us, it's not.
No.
It's just not that way. And so we have the first portion of our lives is really just reaching safety.
Yes.
We are really in a process of survival for like decades.
Yeah.
And then your version of enough money is really different, I feel, than somebody who has always had an abundance of that currency.
Yeah.
And so when you arrive in the enough money, it really does feel like enough. Like I had one person say to me once that it still had these kind of tinges of like poverty consciousness.
Yes.
But then I had to really tap into her lived experience and understand that she's always been in overflow. And so when a inherently wealthy, I'm talking money, person is telling you you should want more, you could get more. There's more.
There's more.
And it's like, but this is enough for me. But you don't have a concept of enoughness because you've always had abundance and overflow. But if enough of us landed in the enoughness financially, I think, and I know this is very idealist thinking, but a lot of what we're seeing on that global scale, it just wouldn't be as severe as what it is because it's all built on power and acquisition of more money.
Yes.
Anyway.
And control.
And control. And the control that comes with money.
Yeah.
You know, which is something that we might see dismantled with the age of AI. Too early to tell, but there is some early predictions of money's not really going to mean anything because we're not going to have to do the kind of labor in the direction of earning the money because that's going to be done. Anyway, that could be a whole other conversation that I'm not going to get into. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Joining me and for such a stimulating conversation.
This is so fun.
Yeah, and for your honesty.
Thank you.
Yeah, in taking us through those personal bits as well. So